Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos. And obviously, after the winter break, Manchester United go up against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. And that could be the game that does decide who finishes in the top four this season. As it stands at the moment, Chelsea are 6 points ahead of us basically in that. So it is a must-win game for Manchester United if we are to keep our top four ambitions alive. But we need to get back to winning ways in the Premier League anywhere because, we are winless in our last three Premier League games and we haven't even scored in our last three Premier League games. Obviously, this is not the preview for the Chelsea game and that, the preview, of course, will be coming up on the 15th or the 16th and that. Also, Solskjaer will be doing a press conference, so I will be giving my reaction to his press conference, when he does his press conference, building them up to the current game. We are actually looking to beat Chelsea for the third time this season because we've already beaten them twice this season. We beat them 2-1 earlier on in the season at Stamford Bridge in the Carabao Cup. And we also beat them 4-0 at the beginning of the season at Old Trafford by 4-0. And that's one of our biggest wins this season and that. Obviously, we don't do so well at Stamford Bridge in the Premier League. We haven't won at Stamford Bridge in the Premier League since 2012. So that's around 8 years ago now. But, actually, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got recommended into Manchester United, we've actually, done really well against Chelsea. And he's got a good record against Chelsea as Manchester United manager. I don't think Solskjaer has yet lost against Chelsea, since he come to Manchester United. Like I said, we've already beaten them twice this season. We beat them 2-0 in the FA Cup last season, don't forget as well. So I think we're like unbeaten against Chelsea in our last 5 games. So obviously, the game against Chelsea on the 17th, will be actually, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Frank Lampard's third meeting as managers and that. And obviously, the question is, do you think Frank Lampard is the right man for Chelsea? Now, obviously, he's got a huge predicament ahead of him and that. Obviously, this is Frank Lampard's first season as Chelsea manager. It's his first season as Chelsea manager and that. I think probably, Chelsea will be determined to give him time to spend money. Obviously, I think there was rumours coming out saying that Frank Lampard's going to get around £150 million to spend in the summer. As far as I'm aware, Chelsea did not recruit any players in January, but they did have quite a few players on their agenda. So maybe, Chelsea will be determined to give him time. Maybe Chelsea as well may consider getting rid of more players in the summer. Don't forget, they lost one of their best players last summer in Eden Hazard. Of course, he went to Real Madrid. Eden Hazard endured around 7 years with Chelsea. But I think that's one mistake Chelsea did make, was getting rid of Eden Hazard, because like I mentioned, he was one of their best players. Don't forget, at one point, they did have a transfer ban, Chelsea, due to tapping around young players. But, they had got their transfer ban, sorted out and everything. So they no longer now have a transfer ban. So it did initially say, they wouldn't be able to make any transfer activity in the next couple of windows and that. So I presume that Chelsea will try and make some signings in the summer. Obviously, Frank Lampard, though, I've got the same perception on Solskjaer. They're both inexperienced as managers. Like I mentioned, Solskjaer was a great player for us for 11 years. Frank Lampard was a great long-serving player for Chelsea for 13 years, but just hasn't got that managerial experience as Frank Lampard. Now, obviously, Frank Lampard only started managing last season. He began his managerial career last season with Derby. Obviously, he did progress that Derby to the playoff final. But I thought he was a really, really good player for Chelsea. Obviously, their all-time leading goal scorer with 211 goals. Obviously, he played for quite a few clubs during his playing career. He played for West Ham, had a spell at Swansea, served 13 years at Chelsea. After he left Chelsea as a player, he obviously, had a spell with Man City. Then he had a spell with New York City, did Frank Lampard. But, I don't know if he's the right manager to elevate Chelsea forward, because we haven't only been inconsistent this season, so too have Chelsea. They've been very, very inconsistent and that. And, Chelsea themselves probably, haven't got the structure to keep sacking managers. Probably you can say Chelsea have had more managers than my club, Man United, because Chelsea have sacked a lot of managers in a short period of time. Don't forget, they sacked Maurizio Sarri last season, despite the fact that Sarri, progressed them to the Europa League final. Well, they won the Europa League, and he got them to the final, obviously. And he also progressed Chelsea to the League Cup final, but they lost that. Then, obviously, they had Antonio Conte. Chelsea sacked him. despite the fact he won the Premier League and in his first season with Chelsea. Obviously, they got rid of Jose Mourinho. The main explanation for that is that obviously, he had problems with the club doctor, did Jose Mourinho, but he had 2 spells with Chelsea, won quite a few Premier Leagues with them. Obviously, Chelsea did get rid of, Rafa Benitez. They got rid of Scolari, Villas-Boas. I think they won the Champions League under Villas-Boas. Avram Grant, Carlo Ancelotti back in 2009 and 2010. So Chelsea have had a lot of managers over the years and that. So yeah, like I said, they'll be determined to give Frank Lampard obviously time. Obviously, Chelsea themselves have got quite a few injuries. Obviously, Olivier Giroud's been injured for them. Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Christian Pulisic, who I think they did get him last summer. Well, they got him before, but he got loaned back to Borussia Dortmund for the remainder of the season. But they got Pulisic in last summer. But I think he's out with injury at the moment. Obviously, they've had Xabi Costa recently out with injury. Marco van Dingle, I think, is he out for the remainder of the season. Tammy Abraham's just recently come back from injury. I think Chelsea have got quite a few decent young players in their squad. I rate Tammy Abraham. I like Callum Hudson-Odoi. He's not too bad either. He's British. But, they have got some decent players in their team. I obviously like N'Golo Kante. Very, very good midfielder. Obviously won the Premier League twice. Won it with Leicester. Of course, he's won it with Chelsea. I think Chelsea didn't pay around £32 million for N'Golo Kante. Obviously, they've got Danny Drinkwater there. So I think they've got a couple of former Leicester players in their team. They've got Jorginho, who obviously, they got him from Napoli for around £57 million. They've got Barkley in there, who I think, they got from Everton. Rudiger, not a bad centre-half. They've got Marco Alonso. He was injured earlier on in the season for Chelsea. They've got Azpilicueta. Willian, decent player. Pedro, decent. So Chelsea have still got a lot of good players in their team. I think, my Man United team, which is my club obviously, we've got a better team than Chelsea. But, we don't play as a unit, and that's what currently lets us down. But like I mentioned overall anyway, I think, there's a lot of our players are better than a lot of teams plays in the Premier League and that. But, we just don't, Solskjaer doesn't really seem to have a style of play, and, we're not playing the correct way, and that's why we're not in the commanding position that we should be in, and look at the amount of money that Man United have spent in the last, 6 or 7 years. Like I've mentioned, we've spent nearly £1 billion on recruiting new players in. Not only that, we've got the highest wage bill in the Premier League, and look where we are in the league, 6th or 7th? You've got Sheffield United that are above us. They have spent nowhere near to the extent of what we've spent. You've got Leicester that are above us. They've spent nowhere near what we've spent. City have spent a lot of money under Guardiola, but in the last 6 or 7 years, we've spent more than City. Liverpool, like I said, they're sensible with their recruitment. Obviously, they've spent money, but they haven't spent nowhere near to the extent of what we've spent. So, realistically, reflect on the money we've spent, we should be sitting in Liverpool's position, but we're not. And obviously, at the moment, City are strides ahead of us. Liverpool are strides ahead of us and that. But, we're known for overpaying for our players. Look at the money we've spent on players. 80 million for Maguire, £50 million for Fred, £40 million for Nemanja Matic, £89 million for Paul Pogba. We've just paid £68 million for Bruno Fernandes and that. So, yeah, we're known for overpaying for players, definitely. So, yeah, and it's gonna be a very, very big game against Chelsea. And I have got some positive news. I think, actually, some players could be back from injury by the time where we play Chelsea. Give you some news regarding Scott McTominay now. The latest news regarding him, he said he's good now, McTominay. I think he has been back in training, but he is in rehab, continuing his recovery from his knee injury. McTominay is definitely one of the players I would be determined to keep at Man United, because before he got injured, he did really, really well in our midfield. He's not at that, he hasn't emulated that level as yet, but I think he will do, because I think he did well early on in the season, and hopefully can continue that when he comes back from injury, what he did do earlier on in the season. So could be back for Chelsea. Paul Pogba now, he also could be back for the game against Chelsea, because Solskjaer did confirm that, Paul Pogba had his ankle cast removed. Paul Pogba's missed the vast majority of our games this season due to injury. Paul Pogba's only played around 8 games this season and he's had a couple of injuries this season. But analysing it, Paul Pogba's sustained quite a few injuries as a Manchester United player. And like I said, when Pogba and McTominay are back anyway, we'll look much better in that midfield. And, I think, Paul Pogba playing alongside Bruno Fernandes would be a fantastic partnership in that. But I think he's going in the summer, is Paul Pogba anywhere, like I've mentioned to you. He's already told his teammates that he wants to leave Manchester United in the summer. So he's got the same perception than what he had last summer, because last summer he wanted to leave Manchester United and that. Some United fans would like to see him go, and some United fans, would want us to keep him, despite the fact that we've got Bruno Fernandes in, because realistically, Bruno Fernandes is the adequate replacement for Paul Pogba. But, Paul Pogba, even though he's been mainly inconsistent since he rejoined Man United from Juventus back in 2016, he is still regarded as one of the best midfielders in the world. Paul Pogba did enjoy 4 good years in Turin and that, and he's a very, very very decent player, is Paul Pogba, and he's still only at the age of 26. He's coming into his final year of his contract. Like I mentioned, we've got an option to extend his contract by a further year. But I do believe Paul Pogba, has been disrespecting the club. His agent Mino Raiola has also been disrespecting the club and that. And I think, he will go in the summer. Whether it's to Real Madrid or whether he reunites with Juventus, I don't know. But I do know that it will be one of their teams that he does end up going to. Obviously, don't forget, before he was linked to a move to Barcelona. But, Paul Pogba, has not only been subjected to transfer speculation, in the January window or last summer. Reflecting back under Jose Mourinho era, there was a lot of talks about him leaving. Obviously, reflecting on his poor relationship he had with Jose Mourinho and that. But, like I said, he will go in the summer. I think we want around £120 million for him in the summer, because reflecting back last summer, we wanted £150 million for Paul Pogba. But Real Madrid, of course, weren't reluctant to meet it. So that was a stumbling block last summer. So he could be back for Chelsea. We know that Eric Bailly and Fosu Mensah are obviously now back. Since their return from injury, they have not played yet, but I do presume they will get given their opportunities. Eric Bailly, of course, is recently been playing for the under-23, so too is Fosu Mensah. I think, the likes of Bailly, Fosu Mensah, Jones and that, they're good backup options, to obviously, Rich Lindelof and Harry Maguire, which are our first choice centre-backs. But they will get their chances, Bailly's very injury-prone. Could he be one of the players that leaves in the summer? I think when he's fully fit, he's absolutely fantastic for us. Fosu Mensah, I think Solskjaer views him as a right-back, because he played as a right-back for Holland at the age of 19. So I'd like to see, Bailly and Fosu Mensah get given their opportunities. Obviously, there's going to be no Rashford for Chelsea. He's out for a couple of months, is Rashford. He's obviously sustained a double fracture in his back. Obviously, like I mentioned, Rashford is a big miss, because he has been one of our best players this season. And like I said, Rashford is definitely one of the players I would be determined to keep at the football club. I still believe Tuan Zebe is out. There's a possibility chance he could be back for Chelsea, Tuan Zebe. In the games Tuan Zebe has played in this season, he's actually been quite decent. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and that. But more players are now coming back from injury. But analysing it this season anyway, we have had a lot of injuries, but that's not been excusable for how inconsistent we have been. But I do believe we've a chance of getting something from Chelsea, because they're not in the best run of form. Like I said, we've done well against elite opposition this season, so don't fully rule us out and that. Don't fully rule us out. Obviously, in the game against Chelsea as well, Bruno Fernandes will be making his second Premier League appearance in Man United. I thought he was fantastic on his debut for the club against Wolves. Like I said, Bruno Fernandes was our best player. Created decent chances. He had 5 shots, 3 of them were on target. He had the most touches in the first half. His composure was good. His pass accuracy was good. So yeah, Bruno Fernandes is going to be a success at Manchester United. My only element of concern is the use of the player. Is Solskjaer going to keep him in his predominant position? Because remember in that game against Wolves, Solskjaer, did rotate Bruno Fernandes as a holding midfielder. he put him as a holding midfielder and he put Pereira in the advanced role, which he shouldn't have basically done. But as long as we keep Fernandes in his predominant position, I think he should do really, really well. But I think Fernandes is actually on another level to the vast majority of our team. So the vast majority of our team have got to suss out how to adapt, to Bruno Fernandes' level and that. But, he's a really, really good player, is Bruno Fernandes and that. And Solskjaer, obviously, was delighted with the signing. I think he's now our fourth most expensive signing, is Bruno Fernandes and that. But yeah, he'll be making his second appearance against Chelsea. Obviously, Odion Ighalo will be making his debut against Chelsea. I do presume he will be starting, and even if he doesn't start, he will be involved in the game. As you all know, just before the transfer window shut on deadline, we got Odion Ighalo in on loan until the end of the season. We don't have an option to make the deal permanent. Man United have paid around £3 or £4 million for the loan. £3 or £4 million for the loan. And obviously, we're paying like a third of his wages and that. But my own perception is on Odion Ighalo coming in. I'm delighted. He's also give his own perception on it, and he says, he didn't hesitate taking a pay cut because his current wages in China were around 300 grand a week. Like I mentioned, we're paying him around 100 grand a week. And plus, he said it's a dream come true because he's a lifelong Manchester United supporter anywhere. He's Odion Ighalo, and he's an experienced player. Like Solskjaer was saying, he's another attacking option. I've got to say he's a good cover up for Rashford. He's also a good alternative to Anthony Martial, and hopefully, he can, provide us with goals. Can Odion Ighalo? He scored goals in China. He's played in the Premier League. He endured 3 years with Watford, so hopefully he can do well at Manchester United and that. But yeah, it was good business from the club. Getting him in just before the deadline, just before the transfer window shut. Very, very delighted. But yeah, but like Gary Neville was recently saying, it's basically took us like 8 or 9 months to replace Romelu Lukaku, because Lukaku revealed last March that he wanted to leave Manchester United. He did leave last summer. He went to Inter Milan. And, it took us quite a long time, to get a replacement for him. So this is what Gary Neville means, about our recruitment policy, because he's actually, recently come out and criticised our recruitment policy in that. Maybe it was one of the mistakes by Man United was getting rid of Romelu Lukaku and that. But I'm happy with the money we generated. We got 70-odd million. We more or less recruit the money that we paid for him from Everton a couple of years ago, because we paid around £75 million for him from Everton, don't forget. So take that into account and that. But I think he'll add more transition in the final third with Odion Ighalo anywhere. Like I said to you on my last video, he's demanding Martial's role now. So he wants to play in the number 9. And I think he'd suit that number 9, because I think he's an out-and-out number 9 anyway. He's Odion Ighalo, if I'm correct. And, I think either, like I mentioned, Martial either needs to be dropped. If he isn't dropped, he needs to be, rotated to the left-hand side, because Martial's predominant position is playing out wide anywhere. It's only this season that Martial has been operating in that number 9 role, because he's had some good games this season, he's had some bad games, but I think in his last 6 or 7 league games at least, he has been way below par as Anthony Martial, and he has received criticism from Alan Shearer. Ian Wright's also urged Manchester United to drop Anthony Martial. But, Martial's been a long-serving player here so far. And, he's into his 5th season at the club. 60 goals in 202 appearances since his arrival from Monaco back in 2015. But I do believe now that Anthony Martial is becoming a liability at Manchester United. And, are we now going to consider selling Anthony Martial in the summer? And, that is the question. He's only the age of 24 and that. People have different perceptions. Some will say sell him, some will say keep him. Maybe he's just going through a bad period and that. So yeah, but I would put him on the left. If not put him on the left, I just would drop him completely. And I'd probably, if I were to do it, if I was to go with 3 at the back, I'd probably play Odion Ighalo and Greenwood up front, to see how they would combine together and that, I know Greenwood's still inexperienced at the moment, but I think Greenwood's done really, really well this season. I think at this moment in time, Greenwood is a better solution than Anthony Martial, because Greenwood for me is not getting enough starts in the Premier League, and that's my element of concern. In the cup games he's getting his starts, but in the league he's not getting enough starts, so Solskjaer needs to start playing Mason Greenwood more. Mason Greenwood is on 10 senior goals this season in 20 odd first team appearances, and this is only his first season in the senior squad. But like I mentioned, there's a lot of young players in the squad anywhere that are developing and trying to improve, and you've got quite a few youngs that are in their first seasons in the senior squad. Greenwood, Brandon Williams, James Garner, because he's also played a few games this season, Chong. But I do believe Chong's going to be one of the players that's going to leave in the summer, because he isn't quite on that level as yet. But, that's one aspect to me that credits Solskjaer. He has got a lot of trustworthy in his young upcoming players. In a game against Chelsea, if I was Solskjaer, I would revert to three at the back. I know on a regular basis this season, Solskjaer has been going with that 4-2-3-1 formation, but that 4-2-3-1 formation, from my perception, doesn't, really suit our standards. But in the games he's gone with three at the back, we've seemed to get positive results. Went with three at the back against City in the Carabao Cup semi-final second leg. We won that game, but we didn't go through on aggregate. We went with three at the back against Liverpool in the Premier League this season. We drew that game. We're the only team to take any points from them this season. We went with three at the back in one of the games against Partizan Belgrade in the group stage. We won that game. So that just proves, I think we're better in that system, because we look more expansive with three at the back. But obviously, I can understand with Bruno Fernandes now in. Obviously, he suits the 4-2-3-1 more than obviously, going with three at the back. But he'll probably stick with a 4-2-3-1 formation anywhere. Will Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wait there a minute? He'll stick with a 4-2-3-1 formation anywhere, I should presume. But, we've got to get back to winning ways, like I mentioned, in the Premier League, because we want to finish in that top four this season. Very, very imperative indeed. And it's one of our ambitions, because we want to be in Champions League football for next season. We also want to get some silverware on the board this season. We can win the FA Cup, we can win the Europa League. That's another route to Champions League football, so take that into account and that. Obviously, Man United do need to make more signings in the summer. Obviously, like I said, since Solskjaer's come in, he's brought 5 new players in, which is good. But it's not enough. We still need more signings in that. Obviously, around 9 senior players have left as well since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival. But despite that, there's still more players that need to leave Manchester United in the summer. Definitely still more players that do need to be moved on and that. And I've already gone through you what players I think need to leave Manchester United in the summer. So let's see who else we can try and get in the summer and that. I've already given you an update. Jadon Sancho's one of our summer targets. Jack Grealish is now our number 1 priority target. Like I mentioned, James Maddison was our preference, but it's looking like the James Maddison's going to be signing a new contract with Leicester and that. So if we can get, Sancho, Grealish in the summer, I actually would be very, very delighted, because they would dramatically improve us. And there is still deficiencies in the squad that need to be addressed. We've got the midfielder, but we need another midfielder. I think we need a holding midfielder. We also possibly need a right winger. We possibly need a full-back, a left-back and that. Maybe Solskjaer won't be bothered about a left-back, because Brandon Williams has done well since he's come onto the horizon, but he's still inexperienced. So there's still areas in the squad definitely that need to be addressed without a shadow of a doubt. And I feel as though there is cultural problems at the club, and we need someone to come in who can change, the culture of the club and that. Like I mentioned, I don't like the way the football club's been run in the last 6 or 7 years, but we need to see a variety of changes at the club. Got to get rid of the board, got to get rid of Ed Woodward, got to get rid of the Glazers, got to get rid of Solskjaer. So there is a lot of problems at Manchester United and that, and Solskjaer isn't the right man, like I mentioned, but obviously we're not going to sack him at this moment in time. We've already assured that his job is safe for now. Solskjaer, of course, has had 3. He's obviously, the January window was his third window as Manchester United manager and that. And I think we are going to be prepared to at least give him one more window to see who else he can recommend in to the football club and that. Because, you know, Solskjaer has... Solskjaer's been here now for like 14 months nearly. He's been permanent manager for almost 11 months. So I think he's been here long enough, to be quite honest with you. But he's not the right manager for Man United. You know, despite the signings he's brought in, he's still not the right manager for Man United. And that I just feel as though that, you know, he doesn't suit the strappings of the club, despite the fact he knows the club inside out and that. You know, maybe some people's perceptions would have changed on Solskjaer when he got Fernandes and Odi Nagalo in, but it hasn't changed my perceptions whatsoever. You know, we just need a manager in, you know, who's got a good pedigree, a manager to the top level, you know, a manager who's got the right philosophy, obviously, for the club and that. So, yeah, we need to see a change. And if Solskjaer is to be sacked as Man United manager, and I think he probably will be gone within this 2.5-year deal he's got left on his contract, it'll be Pochettino who will be our next manager, providing that he doesn't get another job before the end of the season. Because if Pochettino gets another job before the end of the season, then obviously, you know, Tottenham are entitled to £10 million in compensation. But we've been long admirers of Pochettino anyway, and I think what we should have done is we should have got Pochettino in after the sacking of Jose Mourinho in December 2018. That's what we basically, you know, should have done. But, you know, I don't think at this moment, this is not a football club, this is a business. And we've got no football ethnics whatsoever going on because, the football's just atrocious. There isn't actually a style of play. And obviously, you know, that blame in that aspect, you know, stems basically nowhere from the manager. But, you know, he's just not the right man for Man United. He was a good player, but not good enough to be a manager. Same perception on Carrick. Good player, too inexperienced as a coach. Same thing. Kieran McKenna, too inexperienced. So, you know, these are just my opinions on everything. You know, basically, let's sum it up. The mentality of the club is totally not right. The mentality of the club's wrong. And that is an element of concern. But us sacking Solskjaer now wouldn't really, you know, be the right solution. You know, it wouldn't be the right solution, let's be honest, because it's not all of the blame that stems from the manager, is it? So take that into account. And that's everything to update you with today. So I think our game against Chelsea on the 17th of February could decide who finishes in the top 4 this season. So it is very crucial, definitely. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribing as always, and take care. God bless. See you all again very, very soon.